When I was 8 there was a bird trapped in my garage for a week, or so I thought. Writing this solidifies something I don't take lightly. It solidifies that I can never have my face associated with my writing and that Thomas Cullen the Penham is set in stone. It solidifies that my real name can never take credit for any of the writing I love so much. I am risking the possibility of everything for no reward other than maybe I'll finally be able to let this go. The reward that maybe I can just go a couple days without thinking about that one terrible week when I was 8, and maybe, who knows, maybe I'll let myself forget. This is something I need. I'm sorry. I've been contemplating sharing this for a couple of years now, not out of respect or fear for a bird, one of which I'm no longer even certain existed, but rather out of respect for a family I know for a fact must be in pain and want more than anything to leave the past in the past, a family I was once close with. But I am 25 now and I deserve some version of closure too. He was my friend too. True closure is something I'd given up on. But I'm hoping sharing this will help me finally process what really happened. This feels selfish, sharing this feels dirty, but I can't keep the only true recollection of what happened solely in my head any longer. This impacts everything I do and leaves me feeling tainted and I want to let it go. It's no secret I'm a writer, for God's sake it's in my bio. So I understand the assumption that all of this content is fiction. All of my other posts are, so I don't blame you. If you choose to keep reading with that assumption then that is fine, but please do not leave any mean comments regarding the family involved. You'll be blocked and if I need to, I will disable all comments altogether. The following includes child death, so don't continue if you're not prepared for that. This last disclaimer is for anyone in my inner circle that has managed to find this post. You know me, you know I'm genuine. Please do not make this a witch hunt. Please do not send this to the family. Just let me get this out. This didn't begin with a bird, or even my garage, but rather a complicated friendship I had in elementary school with someone I'll refer to as Adam. I say complicated because I was more so friends with his older brother than I was a friend of his, but me being 8, Adam being 6.5, and Jacob, we'll call him, being 10. I had just naturally grown closer to Jacob and thought I'd known him like a best friend should. But in an innocent, friendly way I truly adored Adam. Adam was special needs. I won't go specifically into what he had because quite frankly I don't remember and it doesn't matter. But he was prone to loud outbursts and everyone, including me, as much as I cherished his presence, everyone seemed to have moments where they lost their patience for him. I wish I had met him today. I'd sit through anything he could manage to muster up. I wouldn't lose my patience with him today. I promise I wouldn't. Jacob and I would often play Xbox together. I haven't touched an Xbox since. Given Jacob and my age gap, our friendship felt like an honor, one I needed to maintain, although only to an extent because I knew me being his friend wasn't solely out of choice but was also greatly influenced by my house being the closest to Jacob and Adam's parents' property. Regardless, having two friends felt nice. A lot of my visits to their house consisted of gaming with Jacob, pretending to write stories on their dad's typewriter, and playing hide and seek with Adam. Adam wasn't too developed in regards to his vocal skills, not to say he couldn't talk, he could and did. However, how and what he said was up to him, or should I say wasn't really up to him. They didn't follow any rules. Naturally, this made it hard to play with him, but for some reason he loved hide and seek. He would approach Jacob and as we 1v1'd each other split screen on Rust, and he would stand directly in front of the TV bumping his fist together doing one of his vocal stims. As I said before, his vocal development wasn't like others. He was limited to a number of vocal stems that abided by no rules. The only exception was one thing: when we'd play hide and seek. Although this was one of the things Adam was actually decent at, Jacob still never wanted to play this with Adam because he had no patience for it. I feel sick to my stomach typing this. I'm sorry. When Adam and I would play hide and go seek together, Adam would love to hide and always want me to be the one who seeks. He wouldn't be able to stay perfectly quiet when he hid. He could never stay perfectly quiet, but playing hide and seek was the closest he ever got to controlling his vocal outbursts, only letting out that occasional vocal stim of his. One month Jacob and Adam had supposedly been getting into trouble a lot and because of this were grounded and not able to have friends over. I wish I could tell you how I was told what happened next, but I don't remember. I wish I could remember who sat me down and how they managed to pass such confusing information to a child my age, but I don't. Someone did, and all I remember is the new reality: Adam was missing. Over the next week my young mind would learn a number of things. while also forming questions still yet to be answered to this day. Second to finding out about Adam's disappearance, the first thing I remember learning was that Adam had gone missing while playing hide-and-go-seek with Jacob. I think at the time I inadvertently subconsciously made the choice to not unravel any thoughts surrounding this discovery. I was just sad. At the same time, I do remember I would sit in the garage making my little experiments/projects wondering when I'd be able to play with my friends again. I would make these dumb props of things that would more times than not serve no purpose. I remember doing this until the sun went down, and during that dreadful week, I found myself following that same routine. I believe it was a day or so after Adam went missing that was the first time I heard it. I was playing, likely building something, when one of my stepsisters told me to shut the garage and get ready for bed or they would tell my dad when he got home and I'd get in trouble. I remember reaching to hit the garage door opener, as at the time it was too high for me to reach with ease. It's hard to write about so far after the fact, but as I reached out I remember hearing the garage door. It sounded like plastic slamming against something but I couldn't make out what. It sounded hard but not at the same time, too hard to be something I recognized but too soft to be the concrete ground. I remember hearing the noise as my arms were raised pressing the garage door button to shut. In this position I was facing the wall, so I remember the noise scaring me and making me immediately jump and turn around. After that I heard a bird chirp. This scared the living shit out of me as I could not see a bird, but my garage being a 4-door with shelves upon shelves of tools, from my short point of view from everything was limited. For all I knew it was one of my toys that fell, although again whatever fell didn't hit the ground. I would recognize concrete getting hit by this level of force. I ran inside and called it a night. The third thing I remember later that week when my dad and stepmom returned. Unlike the last two, this next piece of information I actually recall how I came to learn. It wasn't directly told to me but rather it was something I remember overhearing from my dad. Apparently, Jacob and Adam's parents wouldn't allow the cops to search their house. This felt odd to say the least, and my dad wasn't shy about voicing his opinion. Their parents said there was no reason to search the house as they already did, yet they left half the town searching the hills far and wide for Adam. My stepmom, the melodramatic one she was, even fainted on one of these search parties and had to be helped by a firefighter. Point being, all these efforts were being made except one. No authorities searched the house. I remember the first couple of days I was caught up in the excitement and all the changes and all the chisme. But on the third I felt scared. I remember laying in bed crying when my dad came up to me and asked what was wrong. Feels like such a stupid question looking back on it since he should know why I'm crying, but I think he was just curious on what my answer would be. I remember trying to look at him in the eyes although my vision was too blurry and mustering up one thing. Adam's not good at hide and go seek, I said, breaking mid-sentence and bawling at the end. I think I was beginning to understand that Adam wasn't playing hide and go seek, and I'm not sure he ever was. I remember the next day I was sitting in my garage, 2 of the 4 doors open with plenty of light coming in as I was gluing 2-liter bottles to a backpack to make a fake flamethrower. I remember forgetting at the time about the nights prior when I heard that slamming and the bird in the garage. I felt so calm, dry face, almost forgetting what a sad week it had been. Then I heard it again. Only this time I recognized the sound for what it was. It was that whistling vocal stim of Adam, the one Adam would let out every time we played hide and seek. The one he'd let out when he banged his fist together signaling he wanted me and Jacob to stop and play with him. It let out a tweet and the noise scared me. I remember running inside scared, and tired of being alone. I remember going up to my 2 older stepsisters and asking if they thought Adam would let me hang out with Jacob. I realize now how stupid of a question it was and how inappropriate the timing of such a question was. At the time I was unaware of this. My stepsisters on the other hand were aware of this and they let me know it. They immediately yelled at me, asked me if I was stupid only using the word I'll refrain from, and told me I was the most selfish person they knew. One of my sisters, the younger of the 2, smacked me across my face and told me to go clean my room or they'd tell Dad when he got home and make me get the belt. I ran to my room crying as I was yelled at not to cry or say a word or they'd tell Dad. That night I fell asleep fast as tears often help you do. I remember waking up in a panic. I felt like I saw something, maybe a shadow, but the moment I stood up I had forgotten what I'd seen and all I was left with was the sheer panic. I remember having far too much energy to even want to sleep but being in need of consoling. Consoling no one in my house was ever going to give me. I remember having a thought that at the time I felt made sense. I thought maybe that bird in my garage was Adam. Maybe the tweet was his calls and hints for me to look for him that I'd been ignoring this whole time. After all, I never remember him playing hide-and-go-seek with anyone other than me. Now the garage door wasn't too far from my room, just a little further. However, I was 8 years old, and at the time I would go through these periods where I'd be so scared to leave my room at night that I would piss my bed. All things considered, going to the garage was not a decision I made lightly. It was one I truly thought might bring me comfort, and in my young mind I truly thought there could be a possibility I'd find Adam, be the hero, and everything would be okay. I put a sweater over my pajamas and went in the garage. The door shut behind me. I turned on a light and walked around, looking and timidly calling out for Adam. When I did, I heard his tweet once again. Only this time I didn't perceive it as anything close to a bird at all. I perceived it how I had perceived every one of his tweets in the past when we'd played. It felt like I was close to finding him. I heard it in between two of my shelves. I heard it, and when I went to turn the corner, instead of seeing Adam, I heard that loud crashing sound, like plastic hitting I don't know what, hitting something hard. Again though, it wasn't loud enough to be the impact of my concrete floor. This sudden crash scared the shit out of me and caused me to run and immediately open the garage door for more light. This was a mistake. My father slammed open the door, revolver in hand. He screamed asking me what the hell I was doing, but I was too afraid to be honest. "I don't know," I replied, which sent him into a fit of rage. He made me get his belt and he whooped my bare ass till he was out of breath. I cried and cried, my screams satisfying my stepsisters. I thought I could find Adam. Adam was found that week, but not by me. He was found buried under a plum tree in his backyard. Apparently Adam and Jacob had got into a fight over the Xbox, which made no sense to me because Adam couldn't care less about the Xbox. I guess Jacob had used the Xbox to slam Adam across the head and beat him to death. Adam being buried under a plum tree hid the smell from the search dogs for some time at first, either dumb luck or the doing of someone with more intelligence than Jacob. Jacob did 8 years and got out not long after my senior year of high school. I think about him and Adam often, but I haven't reached out. I never will, but I've been struggling, and I've been feeling panic like I had when I was young, and I really want to let this go. I have no one to tell because on all accounts my recollection of that week is completely insignificant when compared to the events that took place at its core, but my experience is real.
The Missing Girl Keeps Knocking on My Dreams, Part 1. I shoot awake, reaching for a breath that feels impossible to grab. My sheets stick to my wet body. My chest heaves and my bed heaves with it. I spin my head around, searching desperately for familiarity in my darkened studio. Rationality slowly returns to my panicked mind, and I switch on the lights to be met with the same bed I fell asleep in a few hours earlier, but that is little solace. A vision so clear only moments ago slowly fades into obscurity. A nightmare more real than anything I have ever felt. Sharp horrors become fogged glass. But the knocking remains. A heavy thump. A fist assaulting a wooden door, my door, echoes in eternity within my mind. Trapped there. I ease myself out of bed and steady my feet on my rough carpeted floor. My irrational curiosity driving me now. My spiraling thoughts make the knocking feel more real. Maybe there was someone at my door? Not an inherently scary thought, but I'm still weighed down to my bed by a knot of panic in my chest. Almost naked, I stand in my dark studio. Feeling vulnerable, like a newborn looking upon an alien world. The knocking emanates in my mind again. Heavy. Violent. I stand looking out into the building, at the other apartment doors all closed beyond my open one. No one is there to greet me. Only then does my rationality return and I shake off the hangover of my nightmare. I ease myself behind my computer and breathe a calmer breath. 3:16 a.m. my computer tells me. I look up and meet the gaze of my front door. The knocking is now a muted thud, muddied in my mind. I rub my eyes hard with the palms of my hands and resign myself to another sleepless night. I take this time to catch up on some work before the rest of the world wakes up. I'm hoping I can have a couple shots to sell to green up some of my red bills. Panic creeps in again, but this time from the overbearing weight of reality. The senseless loop I live in. I'm a week behind on utilities and almost a month behind on rent. I have to hope that this latest collection of drunk Russian supermodels is enough to fill my fridge. I load my SD card into my computer and begin scrolling through my invasive reel. The blue light crusts my eyes, but I stay intent on the screen hoping for a nipple or an accidental upskirt. I can't sell those to the tabloids, but they usually fetch a handful of crypto from an obsessed superfan. The women on my screen are strangers to me. Currency and nothing more. But I know them so well. From the bathroom to their bedrooms, I capture their entire lives. I land on one that could be perfect. It's a group shot of them leaving Urge, the local, do anything, say nothing, club downtown. There's enough showing that the tabloids might take it, but not too much that I'll have to sell it as porn. The club's pink neon sign is in the background, so I'm sure Terry could spin up some tongue-in-cheek tale about how these girls escape a world too cruel to them. How they find their escape from people like me. I freeze looking at the gaggle of hapless drugged-out teenagers. I rub my eyes again to get the final haze of sleep out of them before looking again. My fingers go cold and my spine pangs with fear. The brunette, standing toward the back, was knocking on my door in my nightmare. The morning crept in as I stayed petrified looking through other images. Instant familiarity, like walking past an old friend on the street. Your brain just knows it's someone you've seen before. And mine knew where I had seen her. It was getting close to 7 a.m. now and I knew Terry would be awake. I wash my face in my bathroom basin to prepare for my day and avoid looking at myself as I bring my wet head up. I don't think I could handle seeing him in the mirror after a night like that. It doesn't even get a ring in before Terry picks up. He's always quick to his phone when there might be something good for him to buy. No pleasantries in this business, straight into asking me what I have. I send him the group shot. Tell him it's some Russian girls in for a runway show that's expecting to bring in a lot of eyes. Pictures of coked out sluts. It would take my nephew 3 seconds to find that on Instagram these days. What else? Terry barks at me. I send him some of the darker material. My cell phone peeking at celebrities snorting lines in a stall. An athlete flaunting a gun with his old gangbanger friends. Numbers and pictures race between us but nothing concrete until he returns to the group photo. He hides his interest well but I hear a note of curiosity in his voice. Alright, how much for the whores? He questions. $500. I add, doing my best to play hardball. He just laughs. He knows I don't have the spine to play that game, but I do have something he wants. And if he wants it, others will too. $150. Don't even dare come back with a higher number. He asserts. $250. I sound like I'm begging at this point. Fine, $200 and I'll take the rest you've got on these girls for $50. He won. He knows I won't push back. I send him the full resolution images without my safety watermark. Take a fucking shower as well. I can smell you through the phone. He adds before the line goes dead. Payment comes through quickly and leaves even faster. I'm left with $22.18 to last me until my next sale. But I sit for a moment wondering what his interest was. He was right. Girls on a night out isn't newsworthy, even by tabloid standards. There are Instagram pages full of videos of girls leaving clubs in less than sociable states. What made him want those images? I can't get the brunette out of my mind either. Her knocking sits at the front of every thought I have. I pick myself and get ready to hit the street, camera in tow. A handful of old cereal and a cigarette is going to need to last me until I can find some real food. I check the Telegram group chat for rumors. Info on where I might find someone or what's happening around town. I spend $100 a month to be in it and I'm not even sure if I break even at this point. Some of the other guys in the chat go out together, but I can't bring myself to be around these people. I lock up, make for the bus and head in toward the city. I gotta let a couple hours into the day. A movie star is meant to be meeting his agent at a coffee house down the road from me. The image of him won't get me anywhere, but if I can get him worked up enough, I might be able to sell a video of me getting knocked around for a couple hundred. I stand in waiting on the corner, eyeing off every car that pulls up when my phone buzzes in my pocket. It's a notification from the evening eye. Missing model seen hours before disappearance at local club. Click to read more. What? It can't be. I opened the article to find what I was dreading. An intrusive red circle slapped over the face of the brunette. Russian supermodel Tanya Karenina, reported missing in the early hours of this morning, was photographed by paparazzi just hours before. Fuck, I yell to myself, realizing now how much more I could have made off a photo of a missing girl. I try to call Terry back but no answer. Unlikely as it was that I could get any more money for the images, my hunger was driving me to try. As I look up from my phone, I see the back of the movie star as he slips into the cafe. Shit. Hey, what do you have to say about the allegations? I yell out in vain, with no allegations to throw at him. He ignores me and continues inside. Hey you fucking asshole, I got videos of your wife sucking cock. I scream, but get nothing back. I take a few photos of him and his agent through the window before getting ushered on by the staff. I get a few bucks for the snaps and use the cash to buy a burger and sit down in a park to eat it. I get lost in my phone, looking at the photos of Tanya again. I feel myself grow cold and panicked as I keep looking. It was her. She was banging on my door last night in my dream. Heavy and violent, she was almost throwing herself at it. I tense up trying to recall anything more, but all I hear is the knocking before I open the door to see her and wake up. She sits imprinted on my vision, overlaid on the world around me. Heard you got a good one last night. I hear behind me, startling me back to reality. It's Ben, another camera hound. He tends to stay a bit more above board with his photography. I think he's even got a connection as a staged paparazzi when someone wants to get caught doing something. It happens sometimes. When actors are promoting movies or billionaires are embroiled in some legal troubles and want the attention elsewhere. Ben reads the confused look on my face and follows up. The Russian chick, you were the one who got the pic, right? Yeah, that was me. I state plainly. Shit, that must have been a nice paycheck. He scoffs. Not as much as I hoped. I mumbled as I turned my attention away, not being very fond of conversations. What do you mean? A missing celebrity? That should have cleared a couple G's easy. He laughs in disbelief. I didn't know what I had until the eye dropped the article this morning. I bleat out sheepishly. Jesus. You are truly one of a kind man. Can't even cash in when you've got the winning ticket. He smacks me on the back as he insults me. Our conversation continues for a short while after. I tell him about my celebrity shots, trying to make them sound better than they were. I'm trumped by his soft launch photo shoot of two influencers. They paid him $10,000 for the setup and he managed to sell it as non-exclusive to a handful of other publications. I feel nauseous when I hear. I feel like groveling, begging for some money or a good lead. But I let him just walk away after saying not much else. He chucks another not-so-friendly remark my way and then disappears into the urban jungle. My day finishes with not much else to show for it. A couple snaps of celebrities in sports cars. A few of married power couples leaving the grocery store. I really should wait until dark to start getting some good stuff, but I'm too tired to keep going. I grab a frozen man meal on my way home. About $10 left now for the day. I walk through another eviction notice into my quiet studio apartment. I feel dread as I close the door behind me and feel its presence on the nape of my neck. The man meal of dry Salisbury steak and frozen peas does little to satiate me, so I rely on cigarettes for the rest of the night to suppress my appetite. As I sit in front of the TV, watching the world slowly fade away outside my window and darkness fill the corners of my apartment, I try my hardest to stay awake. The TV does its best to keep my eyelids up, but I feel myself drifting before I hear the knocking again. I'm sitting watching the door from my couch. It's being pushed against its hinges, almost bending inward. The force against it is pure aggression. The heavy banging sound echoes off the walls in my studio and land uncomfortably in my ears. I feel stiff. Frozen. Bang. 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 The knocking is erratically consistent. I float toward the door, my body moving in stark contrast to my will. As I reach closer, I hear subdued screaming seeping through the doorframe. The barrage on my door doesn't cease, and with every hit I flinch harder. I grip the cold metal knob in my hand and twist. Silence. The knocking stops. The door opens inward and I see a crimson stain in the center of it. Tanya is standing in front of me naked. Her slender figure painted purple with bruises and her eyes almost sealed shut from swelling. Her hands tremble at her sides. Streaks of blood down her fingers drip onto the floor like a metronome. She takes a breath before screaming from the bottom of her lungs. She begins flailing wildly while endlessly calling out, hollering in a language foreign to me, but the meaning so clear. She screams for help, for salvation, for escape. I stand shaking before her, unsure of what to do before she launches herself on top of me, the force barreling me onto my back. Her skin, warm and sticky from her own blood. She strikes aimlessly at my face while her spit gets stuck in my eyes. The scream rises in volume until my ears begin to ring and I have no other response but to scream back. I grab her by the arms, trying to get her off me, but she's too heavy. Weighing me down like an anvil on my chest, she strikes at me again and again. Our chorus screaming filling the world around me before I jump up and trip over my coffee table. My carpet did little to dampen my impact as my head hits the floor hard. Like the night before, the world slowly returns around me. The carpet, the couch, the TV playing an old rerun of a sitcom. No screaming, no girl. I shake like a living earthquake as I call out swears and panic into the night. The swelling sea of emotions erupts into sobbing, and I spend the rest of the night awake on my couch crying, holding myself close for company. After another insomniatic night, I meet the morning with red eyes. My body feels heavy with exhaustion. What the fuck was happening to me? Unlike my previous encounter, last night's nightmare was seared like a brand into my memory. I could still smell the iron from her blood in my studio. The knocking permeated like tinnitus in my ears. I tried to wash away the night in a hot shower, but with my heat turned off I only managed to scrub away some stink in cold water. I feel totally directionless, unclear of what to do next. My nightmare has rendered me a standing totem of confusion. I feel urged to go to the police, but why? What would I tell them? That I had a nightmare about a missing girl? Why does that matter? People have nightmares all the time. But this wasn't any ordinary nightmare. I was there and she was here. I felt her on top of me just like I feel the cigarette in my hand. She was here last night and she was trying to tell me something, I am convinced of that. She's in danger and for some reason she's come to me in my dream to tell me. If I had have slept at all in the last 48 hours it probably wouldn't have taken me so long to hear how ridiculous I sounded. But my rationality was wavering, being won over by how tangible my nightmare was. On autopilot I continued my day. I found myself standing on another corner in the city. I read that a celebrity chef was seeing a marriage counselor. My goal was to get him and his wife going in and hopefully sneak in to get them talking to the therapist. I was working on what I was going to say to get past the front desk when I got a tap on my shoulder. I spun around to see a short, well-dressed woman holding a police badge. "Adam Carnegie?" she asked, carrying a professional tone. "Yeah?" I responded apprehensively. "Did you take this photo?" She was holding my coked-out group photo. "Yeah. We need to ask you some questions about that night and the following morning. Will you come with us?" "Am I under arrest?" "No, these are preliminary questions. But you are a person of interest." "I'm actually here on a job." I gestured to my camera. "It's an important one," I lied. "More important than a missing girl?" "I'm sure your tabloid shots can wait," she retorted curtly. I climbed in the back of her unmarked police car and was driven to the station. I waived my right to an attorney because I knew I wasn't involved, and the questioning began. The detective's name was Bauer. At least her last name was. She was a no-nonsense kind of woman. She wore a modest black suit with her hair pulled back in a high bun. She asked me questions directly without breaking eye contact. No chance for me to read what she was thinking at all. She cautioned me of my other rights and we got into it. "Tell me what happened that night." Her hands were clasped firmly and she was looking deep into my eyes. Eye contact made me uncomfortable, so I looked down at my feet. "I was told there were some girls out partying. Like famous type girls, I guess. So I went down to Urge, paid off one of the janitors to let me in the back and started going around taking snaps." I felt sick saying the words. I hated what I did, and I hated even more having to tell people about it. "Who did you see in the club?" "Well, the girls. Kinda. It was really foggy and the lights were dark, but they were up in a VIP area and I figured that was them. I was told that there was gonna be 5 beautiful young supermodels at Urge and I just kinda knew that was them 'cause of how they were being treated." "And who was telling you this?" she quizzed. I told her about the Telegram chat, which prompted her to make her first note of our session. "Do you have photos of them in the club?" she continued. "No, I didn't want the security to see my camera and kick me out. So I just waited by the bar until they left." "That's all you did until they left?" she pried. "I mean, I took some photos, but not of the girls. Just of like finance bros doing lines. Stuff I might be able to sell." My mouth went dry, like it usually does before I vomit. I hated myself more now than I had before. "Did you see anyone else with the girls?" The finance bro photos didn't seem to interest her. "Yeah, heaps of people. Other guys, other girls. Just other people." "Was anyone hanging around particularly close to Tanya?" This was the first time the detective had said her name, and I felt that familiar panic creep into me again. I nervously rubbed my face with my hand. I didn't even really know who she was, so I was just waiting for them to leave so I could start taking photos. "Okay. And when they left, did you see anyone go with them?" I was starting to feel flush. I wanted to call out that I had seen her in my dreams. I wanted them to take note of it to prove to me that it was important. "No, it was the girls," then into a car, then off into the night at like 1 a.m. Another note from her followed this. I wondered if I was helping my case or not. "Do you guys have any suspects?" I blurred out. She doesn't respond, just holds her cold look on me. She was undressing my soul. I felt vulnerable again, and she knew it. She twisted her face, cocked her head, and asked me, "Is there anything else you'd like to tell me?" My mind screamed. I've seen her. She's come to me in my dreams. She needs my help. My delusion grew stronger. I was involved in this case, but I couldn't tell anyone. My mind rattled against its own cage. My tongue caught at the front of my mouth, ready to confess my nightmares to the detective, but it got stuck. I just shook my head. The remainder of the interview disappeared in my memory. All my thoughts were stuck on Tanya. I wanted to help her. I needed to help her. She's come to me on purpose. They took my fingerprints, gave me a card if I could think of anything else that might assist in the investigation, and sent me on my way. The wind was cold on my skin as I left, and the sun stinging my eyes failed to warm me. I was hollow. Hollow apart from Tanya. She existed within me. The leads were as cold as the concrete that day. It wouldn't have mattered if they weren't, my direction had changed. My purpose shifted. I made my way back to Urge, electing to walk to save my remaining dollars for the bus ride home. I stood where I stood that night, desperate to recall anything. I pressed my balled-up fist to my forehead and thought hard, but nothing came to me. Why did she come to me? I was useless. My tunnel vision that night was on lacy panties and skin, no one else existed. She could have gotten into the car with the devil and I wouldn't have seen it. I was too focused on the exploitation. The uninvited voyeur hoping to cripple her image even further. I hate myself. But I couldn't get stuck on self-loathing. She had come to me for help. She had chosen me to be her savior. An olive branch of redemption outstretched for me, and I had to grab on. The only lead I had were the dreams, so I had to hope tonight brought another, and this time I would be ready. Thanks for your comment, I appreciate the response. I'm glad the reality delusion came across. Very intentional effort to try and make him seem unreliable and consumed by his delusion. But hopefully it wasn't too far and took you out of the story. The missing girl keeps knocking on my dreams, Part 2. Part 1. I tossed and turned in my bed for hours. My studio fluctuated from an icebox to an oven. Every position I tried hurt my arms or my back. I laid staring at the ceiling, my anxious mind the enemy of my desired sleep. Lights from passing cars drifted across my studio in less frequent increments as the rest of the world surrendered to the night. I try playing rain sounds out of my phone, but the interruption of ads keeps me from reaching any sense of calm. I can't even sleep right. I roll over once more and drop my head onto my pillow hard. One last try to drift off. As I open my eyes to the wall, I'm met with Tanya's crying face. The swelling had subsided from last night, but there were deep lacerations painted onto her perfect face. It was like seeing art destroyed. I felt sadness and panic seeing her before the excitement kicked in. I had returned. My portal into her world open again. Tanya? I asked at a whisper. Her eyes recognize me, but there's no relief in them. She cries a muffled sob and I see the rubber golf ball-sized gag in her mouth, lashed tight, pulling her jaw back. Her lips an unnatural red, opened from teeth marks. I reach up and touch her face lightly and she flinches away. Tanya, I'm here. I want to help. I continue gently, soothing this scared animal. She's lying on top of my sheets, hogtied and naked. Bound by Kali's rope. Her skin underneath darkened and blue. I feel in control of my actions tonight, so I climb to my knees and try undoing her mouth gag. My fingers fail to grab anything. They pass over the rubber and metal latch like it's a picture. A flat surface uninterested in my presence. I tried the rope, but the knot is unbindable. The panic sets in again. What am I supposed to do? She's right here. How am I meant to help her? I lay down beside her again and through panicked breaths begin asking. Where are you? I only get muted cries in response. Unintelligible gurgles. What do you want me to do? I'm angrier now. Helpless to the horror. For fuck's sake, what do I do? I scream at her, grabbing her cold bony shoulders. Her cries get louder. She seems distracted. Her eyes dart around the studio and land behind her. She begins struggling and kicking her body about. Fighting against the void. An unknown aggressor. Within a blink the plight is gone and I'm lying in my quiet studio. Aw fuck, I cry to myself, tears filling my eyes. The olive branch is rotting. Withering away in my hands. My only role as a hapless bystander watching her die slowly. The morning comes painfully slow as I desperately try to find Tanya in my sleep again. All I get is a few extra half hours of light distraction. The thought hits me as I'm having my first cigarette. I need to ask the other girls about that night. They must know who they were with that night. Maybe hearing names might jog my memory. I go to freshen up only to learn my water's been turned off. Fine. My mission is more important. Once I find Tanya, the world will repay me. I spend an hour looking through some of my older darker material I haven't sold and auction it off on various forums. I managed to sell some videos of hookers giving head on the street. I didn't get much, just enough to get me through another day or so. I put on the best clothes I had and head out, making sure to duck the building owner as I leave. I didn't have time to debate my eviction. I got some direction from my Telegram groups of where the rest of the girls were staying. They were at the Royal Plaza, but after Tanya was taken from her room they moved to the Grand. According to the hounds there was Fort Knox security, but I've weaseled my way past guards before. The large golden atrium was ostentatious. Long draping ferns hung from the Romanesque pillars lining the walls. I stood like a dark stain in front of the concierge. My oily hair and thrifted jacket an offense to their image. The thin young man behind the counter didn't bother with any politeness, instead giving me a cold look from top to bottom. I knew I wouldn't get far if I told him who I was here to see. Instead I took a risk that had paid off in the past. I'm here for the conference, do you sign me in here? His face relaxed a bit before responding. They sign you in at the entrance. Up the stairs and to the right. He gestured limply, likely happy our interaction didn't need to continue. I give him a curt nod and a placid smile and dart off. At least now I won't get eyes walking through the hotel. My next best bet would be to find a bellboy and get the info from them. In my experience there isn't much they wouldn't say for some quick cash. Wandering around the maze of yellow downlights and red Persian carpets I find my victim. He's standing with his shirt half untucked, hypnotized by the blue light of his phone. He raises his baked red eyes at me as I approach. Sorry man, I've been all turned around. Which room is Ivanka in? At this time I've got my camera out to seem more like someone here on purpose. He tells me 914. One of the penthouses. I give him a clap on the shoulder and make my way up. Fort Knox was right, I was met by security right out of the elevator. The two large mountains stopped me from even leaving the lift, a heavy rough hand holding the door open. I do my best to sound sure of myself, knowing full well this is where my journey likely ends. Carnegie, from the Gazette. The PR team sent me here to do a profile on Ivanka. I state plainly. Their faces grimace and one of them lets out a heavy breath from his nose. I get the poor timing and all, but if I don't get even 5 minutes down on paper my boss will have my nuts. I chuckle. This seems to lighten things a bit and one grumbles out, 5 minutes. Before escorting me to 914. I was lucky the PR team wasn't in the room with Ivanka. I was lucky about a lot here. But my mission was universal. I was meant to talk to Ivanka about that night and nothing was going to stop me. My tired brain was expecting her to open the door in a pink lacy nightgown, but the woman in front of me, her dark eyes and stained sweatsuit, reflected little of her actual beauty. Her tear-streaked face seemed ambivalent to my existence. She opened the door, heard Gazette, and went back to sitting on a window-facing sofa chair. I take my invitation, nod to the mountains and close the door behind me. The room is grand and echoes her depression. $1,000 bottles of luxury vodka tipped over onto an open pill container. I sit down opposite Ivanka, my mouth now dry. Words trapped at the back of my throat. How do I begin? What am I even trying to achieve here? I should have spent more time planning this, but I felt erratically urgent. I began preparing an introduction before she sung to me, in a thick warm Russian accent. Gazette? Her sapphire eyes contrasted luminescently in a tangle of red veins. I was stunned. Her face was cold and uncaring but I felt captured. Unmistakable beauty, not even 1,000 years of misery could wipe away. My guard was down, I couldn't lie to her. No, I looked at my feet. The switch was instant. Alertness shot across her and she stood up to make her way to the door. No, wait, please. It's not what you think. I reach out for her but stop, a fumbled attempt to not look hostile. I've seen Tanya, I say quickly. She pauses mid-gate. What? Her voice is frail and quiet. I've seen her. Well, kind of. I feel stupid. I'm standing in bear trap. How could I possibly expect her to understand what I've seen? You've seen her? Her shoulders loosen as a flicker of hope elevates her lips. Not really. I lift my hands trying to grab the right words out of the air. It's hard to explain. But I know she's in trouble and I need your help. Have you gone to the police? Yes, actually. I spoke to them yesterday. You told them what you know? I pause after her question. I wished I had some sleep under my belt so I could form a coherent thought. I told them as much as I could. I catch myself after the words leave. Only now do I hear myself. Only now do I see what I'm doing. I feel foolish, but if I run now there's no explaining this bizarre interaction. What the fuck are you talking about? She catches my odd phrasing and steps closer. Hope, suspicion, alertness, all morph into anger. Do you know something about Tanya or not? She berates me. I step back in response. My posture weak. I breathe hard and prepare myself. Tanya has been sending me messages. I labor out, softening the truth. I'm not sure how she's getting them to me. I don't even know why she's chosen me and I don't have any physical evidence that it's happening. After I get the message it disappears. I grimace, dig my nails into my forehead and look up at her. I'm her child begging for understanding. Who are you? Things don't seem to be going in my favor anymore. She steps closer to me, asking again and again. All I can tell her is that I'm a friend and I'm here to help, but that does little to win her over to my cause. I miss the next few sentences she spits at me. Shy of hitting me, her anger is boiling. A mastery of interwoven insults, blending seamlessly between English and Russian. I wasn't entirely sure what I was hoping to achieve coming here, but this was far from a favorable outcome. I blurt out a few more pathetic whimpers in an attempt to regain control and make her understand. The door swings open and I'm assaulted out of the building by her giant bodyguards. I'm told the police are on their way, but all I can do is sit and sob on the cold sidewalk. I am lost again. My urgency directionless. My heart weighs heavy with responsibility. Tanya is begging for my help and I'm ill-equipped to do anything. I make my escape from the area, eager to avoid trying to explain this to the detective. I am a ghost. I drift silently through the streets. Ethereal to the world around me. I don't exist. The sky melts into a haze of purples and oranges as the day begins to disappear. I wander, still. Anxious to go home and be met by Tanya. A cruel joke from the universe. The ultimate voyeur. A front row seat to her torment, stuck behind a viewing glass. Weak and helpless. A better man might know how to translate these visions into action. But I am trapped in this fragile vessel. I hand the bus driver a few coins, unsure if I gave him enough, but uncaring enough to check. I take a seat in the back row and rest my weary head on the window. The engine vibrates my face on the glass. It's late now. Well past midnight. The bus populated by stragglers and vagrants. The offcuts of the world around them, like me. I watch them as my eyelids grow heavy, but I catch myself before I fade, scared of what I might see beyond consciousness. There's a young girl in a heavy parka jacket sitting in one of the front rows. She anxiously turns her phone over on her lap time and time again. I wonder whether she's anxiously leaving or nervous to arrive somewhere. I blink again and drawl in a long yawn. I see a man a few rows behind her. Dirty, unkempt. His head lays limply over the backrest. Bouncing in tune with the bus, colliding hard against the metal bar he rests his head on. The sound of the bus grows faint and distant. My eyelids close briefly and I labor them open. My ears search for any noise but are left looking. A tranquil silence orchestrates the scene in front of me. Tanya is on her knees in the middle of the bus walkway, her naked frame bound tight with blue nylon rope, restricting her arms behind her back. Unwillingly prostrating herself. Her eyes and mouth are forced open with invasive, surgical clamps. My breathing grows heavy. She stares deeply into my eyes. Her mouth a deep rose color as she whimpers quietly. Her tongue visibly missing. Her cheeks are scared by tears. Her body is entirely discolored. There's no sign of healthy pink flesh on her. It's a chaotic tapestry of blacks, grays, reds and purple. I restrain myself from lurching for her. I feel horror again. My hero's confidence has disappeared as I'm left to be a victim, forced to watch. Her eyes break from mine and she traces in front of her, following something I can't see. She begins to struggle as she's manipulated by an invisible force. I watch as hard jagged cuts explode across her chest. Vibrant red blooms out and coats her, pooling at her knees. My eyes hyperextend open and I feel the fear freeze me to my seat harder. I should jump up and try to help her. Do anything. But my will has faltered. I can't even force myself to turn away. The mutilation takes minutes. She stops looking at her assailant and starts begging me with her eyes again. I feel my face grow wet from tears and my mouth go dry. I'm praying for anything to snap me out of this dream. Someone to wake me to tell me I'm at my stop. An eternity passes before I'm violently thrown against the seat in front of me, my throat colliding hard against cold steel, taking my breath away. I hear the bus driver call out an apology. I cough and gag before yelling at the bus driver to pull over. My frantic state making him more than willing to oblige. I stumble down the stairs and land hard on all fours, vomiting over my hands. I scream out wildly as the bus pulls away. I just want this to end. I have proven I can't help. God tested me and I failed. In a last-ditch effort to cleanse my conscience of whatever curse has been put on it, I take out my phone and call the number given to me by the detective. A weeping, belligerent confession to a voicemail box follows. My delusional rant is only broken by apologies for not being able to help her. It finishes with a good few minutes of sobbing before I hang up. I wearily pace the streets, fading in and out of the yellow streetlights, crying the whole way home. I tear down the final eviction notice from my door and leave it half crumpled in the building hallway. I land heavy on my bed. Heavy from guilt and exhaustion. I resign myself to my dreams, ready to face the horrors I might see as penance. Within only a few moments I'm opening my eyes again. This time to the warm morning sun filling my studio. I wipe the crusted drool from my mouth and push myself up in bed. My phone reads 11:42 a.m. I hadn't met Tanya again that night. I didn't see Tanya for the next 2 nights either. After a day of the first deep sleep I'd gotten in days, I had cautiously begun my routine again. The images I saw still haunted me vividly as I chased down leads and snapped images throughout the city. But I was able to focus enough to start getting some money in. I'd gotten lucky with some football players having a drunken encounter in a park, which bought me a bit more leeway with the building owner and got my water turned on. Every day I would check my phone, expecting a call from the detective about my psychotic voicemail, but it must have been delusional enough to be considered the ramblings of an insane man. A full week had passed since my vision on the bus and I was feeling renewed. I had been freed from my torment. The fantastical dreams I was making up in my mind were now nothing but an anecdotal footnote in my mind, choked up to immense financial pressure and poor sleep. The days were brighter as I kept finding good lead after good lead. I hadn't yet needed to attend any of my darker forums to sell anything. Everything I was finding was above board and totally digestible by a tabloid audience. Late one afternoon, while I was taking a break from running around to have a coffee, Terry called me. This was a first for me. It was more often than not me chasing his attention. Hey kid, question for you. Got anything more of that Russian chick that disappeared? His voice was uninterested, but I knew better. Yeah, I might do. What's it to you? I match his energy back. I feel my posture fix and I feel supported by my strong spine for the first time in my life. Don't be cheeky with me, fucker. Do you or do you not? I had a few what I would consider in-between shots. Ones taken in rapid succession between the hot ones I'm looking to sell. One that had come to mind was a series of portraits I'd taken of every girl, at the time not thinking anything but the group shot would sell. Yeah, I got one of her. Front and center. 2 bands. I state simply before giving him a chance to offer me anything. Choke on it then. His uninterest manifesting into frustration. Show me the shot and I'll tell you what you're getting. You know my stuff, Terry. $2,000 is the price. Not sure where you get off talking to me like this. But as your only lifeline lately, I'd suggest stepping down off that fucking high horse of yours. Bye Terry. I give him a moment before hanging up to judge his next move. I begin to shake with adrenaline. I've never played hardball but it seemed like I was winning. A seemingly endless silence is finally broken by a soft-spoken Terry. A voice I had never heard. Okay, well done kid, send it, he forfeited. I almost cheered and jumped. But managed to complete my transaction with a cool head and watched the bank notification bell on my phone. I couldn't believe I fucking did it. I was on top. I didn't put any thought as to what he needed the shot for. Likely an update for a paper on her condition, I imagined. I celebrated in style that night. I got takeaway from a nice steak restaurant and a fresh packet of Rothmans. I sat on my couch, grinning as I scarfed down my medium rare ribeye. I was so elated I couldn't even focus on what I was watching. I kept laughing to myself out of pure glee every few minutes. As I finish my steak and dump the containers in the bin, I pass my phone and see a new article notification from the Daily Times. Body of missing Russian global supermodel found mutilated. The article directly credits me for the image. I almost dropped my phone. My hands go cold and my spine shrinks. Sharp pins and needles shoot across my body. I swipe the notification away and see hundreds of missed messages from all my Telegram chats. Everybody is talking about the discovery. I have several direct messages from the other users asking me what I know. People are also talking about the videos. I fear the worst. I sit down on my couch to stop myself from passing out. My room spins and my stomach churns with nausea. I log into one of my seedier forums. The activity is just as electric. It only takes a bit of navigation to find them. Hundreds of individual videos for sale. Prices ranging from a few hundred to thousands of bitcoins. Hyperlinked titles take you to a purchase inquiry. My face is numb as I look through them. Taken.mp4. Hogtied.mp4. Punching bag. MP4. Kicker.mp4. Then I see it. Tongue.mp4. I crack. I run to the bathroom and unload my steak into the toilet. I'm sitting on my couch, my head in my hands, when I hear a knock on my front door. Am I awake? I shake my head and smack myself in the face when there's a mumble of unintelligible words from beyond the door. The wooden frame explodes inwards as the door is forced off its hinges by a battering ram, followed swiftly by a swarm of heavily armored men wielding black rifles. In shock I stand straight up and jump away from the couch, but I'm quickly spear-tackled and am left with a knee pressing my head hard into my carpet. The detective leans down next to me and reads me my rights. The trial was quick. I couldn't afford private defense counsel, so I was left with a public defender who seemed on his last legs. I was reassured he was going to do his best to defend me, but I saw the way he looked at me. I couldn't blame him either. The tale that was spun almost had me convinced of my guilt. Before the trial had even begun, the tabloids were telling all about the down-on-his-luck paparazzi who resorted to snuff films to pay his bills. Under oath I told the jury about my dreams, how that was as far as I was connected to Tanya. But when the prosecution asked me to explain my actions at the Grand, lying and ambushing Ivanka, I knew how this would play out. I cringed when I listened to my voicemail, apologizing on record about what was happening to Tanya and how I couldn't stop it. Terry even took the stand, talking about how I tried to sell him shots of Tanya the day she went missing. How I charged him $2,000 for one image on the day she was found. It was almost too perfect. There was no concrete evidence that I had any involvement. The men in the videos were always just off screen or dressed in black. But the jury was unanimous and the public response was uproariously encouraging. My fate had been set. I hardly heard from my family before I started my prison sentence, and I didn't hear from them when I was put away. The first 2 years of my life sentence were violent. Frequently, I found myself in the nursing ward resting from an attack from almost anyone. But after a while they grew bored and left me to spend the rest of my life alone in my quiet cell. The only company I had was an occasional visit in my dreams from beautiful women, different every time. But always naked, battered, bruised and pleading for my help with their eyes. I'm gonna be real, this went from dream mystery missing girl to sir, you need sleep, therapy, and possibly a new life. The writing is intense but also spirals so hard it stops feeling like a story and starts feeling like sleep deprivation took the wheel and crashed into symbolism. I think the horror here isn't even Tanya, it's how completely unreliable everything becomes, including the narrator's own mind, and that's kind of the scariest part if I'm being fair. But also I need him to drink water and take a nap immediately because this is not a functioning human anymore, lol. Thanks for your comment, I greatly appreciate the feedback. I'm glad that came across. It was very much my desire to have it spiral quickly and have him become consumed to the point of delusion by these dreams he was having. The supernatural element was meant to become second to how he's responding to it. But hopefully it wasn't driven too far to make the story unenjoyable.